Let me know where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. I used to believe the worst kind of silence was the kind that filled a room after an argument, thick, swollen, daring someone to break it. I was wrong. The worst silence is the kind that settles into a marriage that looks perfect from the outside. It smiles in photos, hosts Sunday dinners, remembers birthdays, and still refuses to tell the truth. My husband, Daniel, knew how to make a room feel safe. He had that easy way about him, hand on your shoulder, a laugh that never felt forced, an instinct for when to show up with flowers and when to say nothing at all. People loved him. They said we were the couple that gave them hope. I held their words like a ribbon around a gift I didn't know was empty. Sometimes I replay the early days as if memory were a courtroom and nostalgia my only witness. The barbecue where we met, paper plates bending under too much food, him noticing and sliding a second plate beneath mine as if steadiness were the simplest thing in the world. Our first winter, breath on the glass, his finger drawing a smiley face on the fogged window, and me laughing at how childish and how kind it was. Back then, love sounded like ordinary noises: keys on the table, water boiling, two toothbrushes tapping porcelain. Maybe that's why I missed the moment it changed, because the soundtrack stayed the same, even as the story did not. And I told myself, as good wives do, that faithfulness could be built out of patience, that goodness could keep us safe, that my careful heart was enough for both of us. Our life had a rhythm, coffee cups side by side, his key drop on the hallway table, my habit of humming while I cooked. Not rich, but steady, ordinary love, forgiving love. The first crack wasn't even a crack. It was a Thursday night text, running late, client emergency. He came home at 11:16 p.m., exhausted, grateful, tender. The second time, he showed me a photo of a highway at dusk, but the timestamp didn't match the hour he walked through the door. One Sunday morning, I reached for his phone to silence an alarm. It didn't ask for a code, it asked for a face. New security feature, he said, smiling like it was a joke. He kissed my cheek and took the phone back too quickly. Weeks later, his phone buzzed while he showered. The screen lit with a name I didn't know. Maya, the preview read, "Made it home. Thank you for tonight." I didn't breathe for 3 seconds. By the time I inhaled, the message had faded. The bathroom door opened. I put the phone down, as if it burned. That night I sat at the kitchen table at 3:11 a.m., a puzzle in front of me, one I wasn't solving. I stacked old memories like evidence against a crime I didn't want to prove. The first time we met, the first "I love you," the porch light I always left on for him. I told myself, love means believing, but patterns don't lie. Late nights became routine. His shirt smelled of cologne he didn't own, mint gum he hated, now filled the trash, and once a new jacket with no explanation. The silence in our home grew louder. If you're enjoying the story, like, share, and subscribe to Twists and Truths. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the clock hands drag themselves forward. I thought about calling a friend, but shame tightened around my throat. What if I was wrong? What if suspicion made me the villain in my own marriage? The words "have faith" echo in my head. His voice years ago when I worried about bills or about losing my job. Back then, his certainty had been my anchor. I leaned into it, trusted it. I remembered our fifth anniversary, a small Italian restaurant, candles flickering, music soft. He held my hand across the table and whispered, "I will always protect this, us." But now even the memory felt altered, like watching an old film reel with scratches across the frame. Tenderness was still there, but so was something else. Something I couldn't name yet, but could feel in my bones. It was an accident that gave me proof. Our internet bill failed to autopay. I logged in and found two service addresses. One was ours, the other a loft across town. The charges matched his emergencies. On a Tuesday night, I waited in my car 2 blocks away. At 9:47, Daniel pulled up under a sycamore, groceries in hand. She opened the door. Maya, younger. She kissed him softly. He touched her cheek with tenderness that used to be mine. I sat still and let myself understand. Two truths can live at once. He loved me, and he betrayed me. I thought about getting out of the car, running up the steps, screaming every question that had haunted me at night. But instead, I froze. I remembered the promises we'd made, how he once told me, "If I ever hurt you, I'd never forgive myself." Those words replayed like a cruel joke. My chest felt tight, like I was breathing through a straw. I thought about calling my sister, but what would I say? That the man who tucked me in with tea when I was sick was tucking someone else into bed tonight. The thought hollowed me out. And for the first time, I realized betrayal doesn't just wound you, it empties you. It leaves you holding a shell of yourself and wondering how long you've been missing. I went home and made tea. Steam rose from the mug and thinned, then rose again. When he came home after midnight, he smelled of a house that wasn't ours. He kissed the top of my head and I nodded and pretending to sleep. The confrontation didn't happen that night or the next. It happened on a Saturday afternoon. We were cutting fruit. He talked about replacing the faucet, about a road trip in the fall. I thought, you cannot go on a trip with both your lives at once. There's an internet bill, I said. I slid my phone across the counter, the two addresses highlighted. He stared at it like a fire alarm, deciding whether to believe it. I can explain, he said, but he couldn't. I didn't mean for it to become this, he whispered. I was going to end it. When? I asked. He had no answer. His face collapsed into his hands, and he kept saying, "I'm sorry," until the word had no meaning. I wanted to throw the glass in my hand, to shatter something, and because he had already shattered me, instead I whispered, "How many lies, Daniel? How many nights did you choose her while I slept in our bed alone?" He didn't look up. I pressed on. Was it love, or was it just easier than telling me the truth? The silence that followed was louder than any confession. My chest burned with questions that would never have answers. I thought of our children one day, asking me about loyalty, about marriage, about trust. What story would I tell them now? That sometimes promises are made of smoke and men can vanish while still standing in front of you. I told him to leave. He didn't argue. He packed with the sad efficiency is of a man who had practiced. At the doorway, he said, "I'm sorry." Once more, I nodded because sometimes a nod is the only dignity left. I sat on the kitchen floor and cried the kind of tears that weigh down the body. I grieved the woman who believed love could keep her safe. I grieved the story I thought we were writing. Then I stood, washed my face, and opened the window wide. Later, I went to the loft. Plants as wilting, dishes in the sink, a throw blanket that matched nothing. It wasn't love. It was convenience wrapped in secrecy, selfishness disguised as need. The truth wasn't a knife, it was a mirror. Months passed, silence became space I could live in. I cooked for one. I said yes, this to friends waiting outside my grief. I ran into Daniel at the grocery store. He was holding peaches. We laughed and soft and surprised. We did not hug. We did not apologize again. I went home, set the peaches on the counter, and made tea. I opened the window wide and I told myself, you are not foolish to trust. You are brave to look. You are free to begin. Nights were hardest. I would hear the echo of his keys, though they were never dropped on my table again. I would wake expecting his footsteps in the hall, only to be greeted by silence. But silence changed. It softened. It became the sound of survival. I joined a book club. I learned how to paint again. I let friends into the corners of my grief. And slowly, I laughed without guilt. I breathed without weight. I realized the end of us was not the end of me. When I look back now, I don't see failure. I see a woman who faced the truth, who chose herself over comfort, over lies, over the slow death of pretending. And if love ever finds me again, I will not be afraid. Because even in betrayal, I learn to begin again. I began to write letters to myself, not the broken woman on the kitchen floor, but the woman I was becoming. I wrote things like, you are allowed to trust again. You are allowed to love again, but you never have to shrink yourself to keep someone else whole. Sometimes I read those letters out loud. The sound of my own voice became proof that healing was possible. I started walking in the evenings. The sky stretched wide above me, and I realized freedom didn't come with fireworks. It came quietly, step by step, breath by breath. I noticed small things I had forgotten to love. The orange glow of street lamps on a wet pavement, the laughter of children running home before dark, the rhythm of my own footsteps, steady, unhurried mine. One day I passed a couple holding hands, and instead of bitterness, I felt hope. Not for him, not even for us, but for me. Because love, the real kind, doesn't vanish when someone betrays you. It waits for you in honesty, in courage, in truth. The double life that shattered my home did not shatter me. It revealed me. And if there is one thing I have learned, it's that endings are not walls, they are doors. Doors that lead to the life you deserve. Doors that remind you healing is not weakness, it is power. And every step forward is proof that I was never as broken as I feared. I am not walking away from love. I am walking toward it. Let me know where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. If you're walking through betrayal, don't lose yourself. Love yourself enough to heal.